All right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and kick things off with our 2024 Policy Forum briefing presented by your TIA Government Affairs team. All right, perfect. Travis, if you'd kick us forward a slide here. All right, I'm going to kick things off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Travis and Dora to take it away on the bulk of the presentation. But first and foremost, we're really excited about our upcoming policy forum here in a few short weeks. And as always, cannot thank you all enough for your support, involvement, not only with the policy forum, but throughout the year on our advocacy efforts. Your impact truly makes a huge difference. Policy forum fly-in is one of those things where, your members of Congress want to hear from you directly. It shows that, we're serious about this industry in terms of traveling to Washington, D.C. We've got over 100 folks already signed up for the policy forum. A few more are going to trickle in here the next couple of weeks, hopefully. We've got over 350 congressional meeting requests already out. So we're excited about that, and several first-time attendees coming to the policy forum, which we always love to see. So again, this event is about you all, and thank you so much for your time, effort, money, traveling to DC, participating in our advocacy efforts. Travis, you move us forward, please. Also, thanks to our sponsors, Avalon Roanoke, the ARL Network, Logistic, and CH Robinson for sponsoring our event. Obviously, without these folks, we wouldn't be able to put on such a great policy forum that we do. This is my 13th policy forum in-house with TIA, and I think this will probably be our best one we've ever done. Every year we improve it. This year we've got a great agenda put together for everyone that's coming and participating. So Travis, next slide. All right, I'm going to turn it over to the team here, and I believe Dora's going to take it away.
Yes, nice to meet you guys. As Chris said, we're all excited to have you come here for our policy forum on Monday, September 16th to Wednesday, September 18th. I am one of the newer members on the TIA team, started in March of this year. So I'm very excited to meet y'all as you come in. A little quick snapshot of my background. I started on the Hill, but I went out to the West Coast for about 10 years, worked on maritime policy and cross-border. So I definitely understand the impact that you guys have in coming to Washington, D.C. Oftentimes, if you're away from Washington, D.C., you don't always understand what all the grassroots efforts mean, but they definitely resonate in Washington, D.C., and it helps me, Travis, and Chris be the most successful that we can be on behalf of our membership. So I want to thank everyone for flying in and just understand how important it is to actually, for our members of Congress to have a face to the voice that we speak on behalf of. So on Monday, September 16th is our kickoff roundtable. So we'll be starting at 4:30 at the Intercontinental, Washington, D.C., the Wharf. The address is on the bottom. And if you've registered already, most likely you have your room there. But we'll be starting with a supply chain roundtable discussion on fraud. And this is kind of the ability for everyone to voice maybe what their experience has been, to share best practices, and even to share ideas on how we can more appropriately and effectively combat fraud at the federal level. Then we have our opening dinner at 6 o'clock. This is a TIA packed dinner. So as you see, tickets are required for entry. So what we do as a TIA PAC is it allows us to basically be in the room where oftentimes you can't be in the room unless you do donate to that member's reelection campaign. If you think about it, I just looked up the numbers today. Some of our sister agencies like American Trucking Association, they have 37,000 members. OIDA has 150,000 members, and TIA, we're sitting strong at about 1,900 members. So it's really important. This is one of the kind of prongs that the government affairs team at TIA does on your behalf. So again, we do have the address for the restaurant. And if you would like to join us for dinner on Monday night, tickets are required, and you can email Chris directly or advocacy@tianet.org. Okay. go to the next day. So this is our main day. This is the big day that we really want to demonstrate kind of all our 100+ voices strong. We will be starting the day with briefings, again, at the same hotel. The location's at the bottom, the Intercontinental DC, the Wharf. And we're very excited this year because we do have a great lineup of speakers that will be joining us, kind of to allow for more roundtable discussion, but more appropriately to have our membership understand who these speakers are and what their role is to us in Washington, D.C. So at 8 o'clock, we will have the FMCSA acting administrator, Ben White. And the administrator, unique to this visit, he just was selected in July of this past year, and this will probably be one of his first weeks on the job. So it's exciting time for us to be able to introduce our membership to Ben and have him understand really what the broker's role is in the supply chain. And just for a little tidbit, his background has been on emerging technologies. So as we've been advocating for the FMCSA registration system to be updated, we're hoping that this will be a great advocate in the FMCSA to be able to bring us through the finish line 10 to 15 years later on updating the current URS system, which we do definitely feel that would be an advantage in helping us thwart some of these fraudulent actors. After that, we have at 8:45 Congressman Mike Ezell from Mississippi. He is one of our lead sponsors on legislation to combat fraud, which Travis will go into later on in our presentation. But the interesting thing about Congressman Ezell, he's a first term, he's very down to earth, his background's in law enforcement, and he really is motivated on just getting to know the people and the issues that he stands behind on Capitol Hill. After that, we will travel to Capitol Hill to have our infamous annual group photo in front of the Capitol building. To note, the hotel is about 2 miles away from the Capitol building. So it's a quick drive, very, very, very long walk. So we recommend everyone Ubering or getting together to do a shared ride service to the Capitol. After that, we have 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We will have our Hill meetings. It may sound intimidating, but again, you will have a member of the TIAA staff that will be bringing you to the Hill meetings. We will be providing you, which Chris will go into later on the app, a map of the Capitol buildings. And basically, and then Travis will be going over some of our main talking points. But remember, the main reason we are here is for you all to tell your personal story. It definitely resonates with the members, and especially in a election year. They want to be able to go back to their districts and say they know what they're talking about, they know who they're talking with, and it shows them well, but also it allows our issues in our industry to be prioritized. And specifically, it's all about building relationships. You meet them once, you go back to your district, you see them at the picnic, you see them at town hall, you see them next year when you return for our policy day. But it's a really important first step in being able to create that relationship with your member. Also, we're trying to encourage our membership to host site visits at their site. So again, our government affairs team can help you with site visits. But this is a time to really get to know who your member of Congress is and get your issues in front of them. And then from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, we will have our policy forum dinner. So everyone is invited to this. We will have 2 guests for a dinner that evening. Guest Congressman David Rouzer. He's very important to us because he's the co-chair and co-founder of the Congressional Supply Chain Caucus. And that caucus is a specialized group of members in Congress that specifically focus on how to better our supply chain. Congressman Rouzer himself, in his district, he's near Interstate 40 and 80. He has rail connectivity. He's near Raleigh, Greensboro. He has distribution centers, and he's close to Port of Wilmington. So it makes his district very, very important when we're talking about supply chain and throughput capacity. So again, you guys are the ones that make it drive. You're the center of the supply chain, and we're really excited to have the congressman join us this year. Then we also will have our guest Commissioner Carl Bensel. And Commissioner Bensel is no stranger to transportation policy. He started his career on the Hill, went to the private sector, and now he's returned in 2020 as our Federal Maritime Commissioner that sits on the commission. Carl's has an active interest and has been working with TIA in the background to be able to effectively combat fraud in the port environment. Again, FMC, their primary mission is to protect the waterways in the port environment, but the commissioner has taken a real active interest to see what happens in the port environment and where it goes from there through the full national supply chain. So we're really excited to have Commissioner Bensel also join us for that dinner. Next slide.
Okay, Dora, one point, just a clarification on Tuesday. We have a lunch scheduled. We have a room in the Senate. It's in the Dirksen Senate office building. I believe we have that for a few hours, correct, Travis? Where lunch will be available. We've built in time for each group to an hour, hour and a half to go have lunch around noon, 11:30 to 12:30, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there. So lunch is provided for all folks within the Dirksen Senate room, which you will have on your schedule.
Okay, thank you. And then our last day is our travel day. So again, it's our third day. Hopefully a lot of you are joining us for dinner and we'll be staying overnight. And if you are, we have breakfast for all attendees at the hotel again. The exception is the golfers will be leaving for their golf outing at the same time, 8 o'clock. So please have all the golfers meet at the main entrance where Travis will take you to the golf event. Chris will be there and there will be food stations at the golf course. But again, for everyone else who's attending that is not part of the golf outing, we will be having breakfast available for all attendees at 8 o'clock on Wednesday. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this slide we think is important for everyone who has not been on Capitol Hill, as well as a refresher for people who have been to Capitol Hill. It can be a pretty intimidating place if you've never been here, but it's actually very simple. And again, like I said, TIA staff will be there to help you guide you to your different offices and calm any questions that you may have. Basically, Capitol Hill is what we call the hills where we have all of our federal office buildings, congressional federal office buildings. If you're looking at the Capitol, to the right will be the Senate chambers, and to the right of that will be the 3 Senate buildings, which include Dirksen, Hart, and Russell. And if you're looking facing the Capitol and you look to the left, you'll have the 4 House office buildings, Cannon, Longworth, Rayburn, and Ford. And basically they're a mirror of each other. So it's difficult to get lost, but again, you'll be with the staff and everyone around there will be able to give you a guiding hand if you do need one. As Chris mentioned, we will be creating meeting assignments. So no one needs to worry about where to go, what time to go, and with who to meet with. We again have 200, 300 plus meeting requests out. We've confirmed a lot of them, a big chunk of them. So we'll definitely be helping you out with the meeting assignments, and we'll be getting that to you prior to your fly-in. We will be lobbying on 3 specific issues this year. Again, fraud in the supply chain, rate intrusion, maintaining the independent contractor model, which Travis will go into in more detail in his part of the presentation. But aside from these issues, which we really want to hammer in, you are the ones that have the story. You're the ones that work in this profession day in and day out. You're the ones that are also building the relationship with the members of Congress and their staff. So as the conversation flows and as the spirit may move you, if there is something specific to you in that district or in that state when you're meeting with your member, that's an appropriate time as well. Because again, we want to make your concerns and your experiences heard with members and staff. Okay, next slide. Yes, what to expect at meetings. As mentioned, this is election year. So election year is an important year for members of Congress. They want to make sure that their efforts and what they're doing in Washington, D.C. align with your real concerns because you are the people that they represent every day. They're in office there to represent you. So what we try to encourage as TIA is to be polite, to be direct, and to tell your story. So again, these are just bullet points, kind of high level. We always suggest to start with a thank you. Again, they're taking their time out to meet with you and to hear your concerns. So thank yous do go a very long way. We tend to suggest to choose a delegation member to lead the conversation, and that's simple kickoff. Thank you. We're here, TIA. We're here on behalf of X, Y, and Z. So, you know, as you're walking office to office, you just choose someone to introduce who you are as TIA. Again, you're the expert. Your personal stories make a difference. Your voice is the most impactful. And as we mentioned before, we will have folders that have the member, background materials for that member, and TIA's congressional impact records, which demonstrate your impact in that district, which matters to the member himself, whether it be employment numbers, what you contribute in economic factors to the district. That will all be included in the congressional impact record. Headquarters will be at Dirksen Senate Office Building. That's on the Senate side. And we put headquarters in quotation marks because it may be a long day. You may have other calls that you may have to take. You may have other matters of business, you know, on your laptop that you might have to attend to. So again, we've blocked out this room in the Senate Office Building for you to go there at your leisure and get any activities that you do need performed during this Congressional Hill Visit Day at Dirksen Senate Office Building. It's in the basement, so you'll see B48. So SD stands for Senate Dirksen, B stands for basement, and 48 is the room number. So again, the locations between the Dirksen Senate cafeteria and the Senate gift shop, and there is signage all over the Senate buildings that will be able to direct you, as well as we have security guards that are at the main floors that will be able to direct you as well. And we suggest business attire and comfortable shoes. Yes, so DC is still kind of one of those strange places. We do show up in shirts and ties. However, if you have a personal thing that you like to demonstrate where you're from or who you are, I've seen cowboy hats from delegations from Texas. I've seen bolo ties from delegations that represent Native American interests. I've seen it all, but we want to make sure that we're respectful of the office and of the of Congress in general. And comfortable shoes, if you've ever worn high heels all day walking and standing, they do tend to hurt. So we just suggest to be aware to wear comfortable shoes because you will be walking and standing for most of the day. Okay, next slide. Okay, just really quick, kind of a quick overview of how the Hill meetings go and what to expect. We like to say be aware. You may be meeting with a lot of younger staff members. So oftentimes they might be in their 20s. In my experience, I've been doing this 15, 20 years, is sometimes those are the best people to meet with. They're young, they're energetic, and they want to do something. And oftentimes, again, those are the staff that we get the most traction with when we're working with Congress, because they want to take on to a concept and they want to run with it. So even if you meet with someone that seems a little bit young, they're here because they want to make a difference. Be flexible. Capitol Hill is an unpredictable place. When we're going to be up on the Hill, it's going to be one of the first full weeks that Congress will be back in session. They've been out all of August. A lot of them are back in their districts today campaigning. So we do not know exactly the congressional schedule for that day. We hope that all meetings will occur, but we want to also prepare you for sometimes votes do happen in the middle of the day and things do change. Congress office also keep a tight schedule. So again, as Chris mentioned, he'll go over the schedule in the app that we have, but we want to make sure that we're on time, because if you're not there on time, oftentimes the member of staff or the staff member have other meetings to attend to. Be prepared. Again, we're going to provide you kind of a what we say is our cheat sheet. We'll have one of these as you arrive, and kind of with the high level talking points. So don't worry about that. That can just quick little cheat sheet to look at the brief summary of the issues you're speaking on. But be focused. Again, time is short. be considerate. We do tend to keep politics out of the discussion. The best thing that we can say for transportation policy is the policy that affects both sides of the aisle. So we do highly recommend and encourage and do not want to hear, really specific on election politics or Republican, Democrat, whatever it may be. We represent all of the US when we do supply chain policy. So want to mention that. Be responsive. We always say to follow up with a thank you email and any ask. DC, we still use business cards. So if you do have business cards, please bring them. You can exchange your business card with the staff or the member who you're meeting with. And it's always a good idea to send a thank you email. And when I say any ask, if that staff asked you a specific question, they want to know specific quantitative data, they want to know something, we want to make sure that we are respectful of their ask and provide a response. As well, Chris, Travis, and I are available for any help with follow-up thank you emails. And we're also available if you have left an office, you're feeling very energized, you want to make a difference, you want to invite them to your district for a site visit, you want to provide them more information. Again, we can help facilitate that with you and also on your behalf. Be savvy, tweet early and often. So social media seems to get a lot of attention. So obviously, if you have a Twitter account, we love to get our name out there and get more publicity. And be appropriate. Again, we spoke about the business attire for the meetings. So next slide. And specifically, we already talked about no speak of politics. It may sound funny, but I have been at a meeting where someone has offered money. So again, that is illegal. So please do not offer money or a bribe. We do not want any speak about the upcoming elections unless perhaps the member brings up their own election in their own district and what challenges or support they may have or be facing. That's okay. But we try not to talk about the elections at all. Political talk, again, dismiss staffer because of their age. You're going to see a huge age gamut through the hill, starting at 20 to, retirement age 65. So, and many members are older. So you're going to see a whole age range. And then again, do not play on your phone. It's just not polite. So, and then I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Travis. So thank you.
Thanks, Dora. Thanks, Chris. So this is going to be my third policy forum now. So super excited to see all of you back in Washington, D.C. here again, here in just a few short weeks. I wanted to go over kind of the congressional office hierarchy. It can be kind of confusing with, kind of the chain of command and, how, who's the boss of who kind of thing. So obviously we have the member of Congress. We all know who that is. He's the elected official. He's the guy campaigning right now. He's ultimately he's the person that we vote and we put in office, and he's trying to win our vote. The scheduler / executive assistant, they're the gatekeeper for the members. So if you're having a tough time getting in touch with members, like I'm sure we all have at some point, it's probably because for lack of a better term, we won't say negligence, but sometimes things just fall through the crack. They get hundreds or maybe even thousands of meeting requests a day. Other times, maybe it's just not an issue that their members real keen on. So, but overall, the schedulers, the executive assistants, they do a great job. Quite frankly, having worked in the congressional office, they really make the place run. So, from there we go to the chief of staff. The chief of staff, they run the office. They're more responsible for the internal operations of the staff. A lot of times they do stuff on the campaign as well, as far as organizing and getting PAC money. And some of them also play a big part in the actual policy direction of the member as well. Legislative director, they're the chief legislative officer, so they oversee all the legislative priorities of the member and kind of determine the direction they go based on stakeholder stakeholder talks, stakeholder meetings, and really whatever that member campaigned on, they're trying to implement that vision into a legislative portfolio. The legislative assistant, so they handle each specific portfolio. So a lot of our meetings, either with or without the member, will be meeting with the legislative assistant, with the legislative director, and a lot of times one of their specific policy areas they handle will be transportation, will be supply chain. From there, we have the legislative correspondent, or the LC, and so they handle a lot of the constituent services and the mail correspondence anytime you write into a political office or whether that be mail or a phone call, whatever, method of communication you have, a lot of times they'll be the one responding to you and conveying the members' vision or I guess their response to a certain message. And the staff assistant, that's more the entry level job, front office. They're the ones who will greet you to the office, ask you if you need water, coffee, or food. And they're kind of the, I guess, the initial gatekeepers, you could say. And then a lot of offices also have fellows. So these are temporary employees from a specific agency, could be from the military. They're much more specialized. They're there for a temporary time. In my experience, we had a military fellow. His expertise was specifically cyber, military cyber, whether it be cyber attacks or, DoD's implementation of new efficient ways to handle their technology and institute that out to other agencies. We'll go from there. Also, I want to remind everybody as we're going through these, if you have any questions, please put those in the chat. As myself, Chris, or Dora will be happy to answer anything you have. After all, this is for you. So yes, please do not hesitate to ask any questions. First, so as Dora alluded to earlier, one of the issues we'll be lobbying on this year and have been, quite frankly, for a long time is fraud in the supply chain. For us, this is a call we get almost weekly about a member reporting fraud. It's pretty catastrophic what it's done to our industry so far. So it's estimated about $1 billion a year cost the supply chain. We think it's actually above that now. Mike Ezel from Mississippi and Eleanor Holmes Norton from Washington, D.C. They are our two lead sponsors on HR 8505, which I believe the title, it is the Consumer or the Household Goods Consumer Protection Act. I think I got that right, Chris. So this will do a couple things. We all remember that administrative law judge ruling from 2019 that banned the FMCSA from being able to administer civil penalties. So the bill would do that, give them that ability back to administer those civil penalties. In our view, if we can, the less profitable we can make this, the more likely we are to deter and hopefully catch fraudsters. So that in itself is a huge deal. And then establish principal places of business. Obviously that the PO boxes, the USPS boxes, we all know about that kind of legendary phony address in Wyoming where there were, 400 or 500 trucking companies registered at one address. So, making sure these addresses are legitimate and they're not just, something fill in the blank so fraudsters can fill out the form on FMCSA's registration site, which by the way, they are updating that. So it'll now flag any suspicious addresses like that. But making sure the place is legitimate where they're working out of and it's not some phony address or PO box is definitely a big deal. And then identifying any commonalities. So another thing we've seen increasingly throughout the years is people are buying motor carrier numbers or brokerage authorities, and the whole idea being, they might own 30 or 40 of these, and the idea is if you get caught for one, you can reincarnate as the other. So it's kind of a never-ending cycle of these people coming into the industry. So definitely this bill we've been lobbying it in the Senate as well. Right now, we're looking for a Senate companion bill. We feel really good about this. At first, this was going to be a bill, just with being an election year and not, quite frankly, things moving real fast through either chamber. We weren't sure this was going to move much, but we've actually gotten a lot of attention, a lot of positive responses from offices we've lobbied this to. So the more we educate on this, the better. We really think offices have been really responsive to this. And again, this is where your personal horror stories and your experience with fraud is really important to convey that to offices because, we can give them the data, the stories we've heard from you guys, but when it's actually coming from you to the member, especially a person that you put them in office, it definitely resonates. So telling your personal stories is a huge, huge deal. Then here's a little tidbit from Eleanor Holmes Norton. Again, she's one of the lead co-sponsors. She is the Washington, D.C. delegate.
Yeah, Travis, I don't think the audio is working. Let's just move on. I don't hear it on my end. So
Gotcha.
I
If
don't
you
think
can't hear it, this was Eleanor Holmes Norton during a House T&I committee hearing with Secretary Pete Buttigieg. She was basically endorsing our bill, saying, this would do a lot to prevent fraud in the industry. So we definitely appreciate her leadership. Also, Congressman Mike Ezel's leadership, and actually, this same House hearing, Pete Buttigieg also endorsed the bill. So it's definitely making airwaves as far as how it would help the industry and deter fraud overall. All right, rate intrusion. So this has been something that we've been monitoring for a while now. There is a potential, they they've kind of been slow walking it, but there's potential that this could be introduced in November for a rulemaking. So obviously we're concerned with the OIDR petition that does a couple things. One, would require all brokers to submit their internal margin information, proprietary information. Obviously, we know we can't share that because one, it's quite frankly against free markets and capitalism in America, but also we'd be breaching contracts with our shippers. And also, two, it would request the agency to ban certain language in contracts. In our opinion, this is agency overreach. I like to compare it to the CDC enforcing apartment moratoriums back in 2020. If they can do that, the question becomes, what can they not do? So this is an issue we've been lobbying hard. We made a run at to put in legislation earlier this year, but it's something we're definitely monitoring and want to keep an eye on. Some of our other rebuttals. So obviously the regulation was created in a period coming off trucking deregulation. The market is drastically different back then. We have load boards. If you're suspicious of a rate that you think may not be fair, you have the ability to go in on load boards, type in all the details of that load, and you can see what the market is for that, and you can then tell, okay, is this rate fair or not? If it's not, then you do what anyone else in American capitalism does, and you go and shop on to the next option. But to the next point, it's an extremely transparent marketplace for shippers, carriers, and brokers. That's kind of the irony of this whole thing is they claim there's not enough transparency, but I'm not really sure how it could be more transparent. And then we have we don't have a commission-based system anymore. So that fear of financial double dipping, that was a pre-1980s thing. That was something that doesn't really exist today. So, this is something we want to continue to educate Congress on. We've talked to a lot of offices about this, Republican and Democrat, and when we finish our argument, they, for the most part, almost resoundingly agree with us. So we think we have the best argument here. We're confident, and we can prevent this from happening. And this is going to be a big talking point of ours on the Hill here in the next couple of weeks. And then independent contractor status. So obviously, with whether it be dispatchers or backroom work, owner operators, maintain that independent contractor status is something we really want to keep intact. This current labor department is not a big fan of that. In fact, they want to make it almost to where it's almost impossible to classify as an independent contractor, make it more likely your employee. It really comes back to the PRO Act, which was introduced a few years ago. The PRO Act stands for the Protecting the Right to Organize Act. This was the national legislation to nationalize AB 5 in California, in a sense. Once I think it was apparent that this legislation was not going to go anywhere, that's when the regulatory side took effect. And Julie Su and the Labor Department have definitely been trying to implement parts of that, whether it be the ABC test or the duties test or other parts of AB 5 in California. They're trying to nationalize that into basically the regulatory PRO Act, if you will. So obviously, this is a lot of restrict businesses from classifying workers as independent contractors. At first, this was a big deal to the gig economy, and then it really kind of seeped into our industry and other industries that use independent contractors as one of the focal points of the functioning of their industry. So continuing to advocate for keeping that status, that independent contractor status, is going to be another big talking point, and something we're continuing to lobby pretty aggressively. And I'll turn to Chris for the Cvent app.
All right. Yep. And just to answer the question that came in, this presentation will be sent out, and it'll also be Obviously, we're recording this, but we'll send the presentation out so everybody can kind of listen to Delegate Norton speak about the fraud at the hearing, et cetera. All right. So for those folks that have participated in years past, for new folks, this is new to you. But we do utilize an app for the policy forum. It's the General CVent Events app. So those folks that came to annual conference in Phoenix this year, it's the same app. You just need to go in and search for TIA 2024 Policy Forum. It'll pop up. You download it, put your information in. It'll email you a code. You're logged in, set to go. So if you already have it downloaded, perfect. Just search for that new event and download it. There will be a code for the event. We'll email this out, but it's TIA 2024 Fly-In is the code. Again, we don't write that down. We'll email out to all attendees. The app is live currently. So what's going to be included in the app is going to be your personalized meeting schedule. So we will go in and add you individually to the meetings that you'll be going to. Within each one of those individual meetings, there will be a bio of that member of Congress. There'll be a map of Capitol Hill, which Dora had mentioned, and also the complete agenda for the event with all the locations and all the relevant information you'll need to know where you need to be. Everything's kind of packed into a day and a half, 2 days max, obviously, if you're playing golf. So it's not a ton in terms of agenda. There's no, multiple different breakout sessions, so it's pretty easy to follow. The one thing that we will not be doing this year, which we've done in years past, is we're not going to be providing printed schedules for all the meetings. We've done this ever since I've been here. It's just one of those things that the second we print them out, they've become, there's a meeting that's changed, so we're handwriting on all the different copies. So it's a kind of apologize, it's kind of a forced way to make sure everybody utilizes the app. We can seamlessly go into the app, update a meeting. It immediately updates on your calendar within the app of the meeting. If it's with a different person in the office or if it's a different time, et cetera, it's just seamless in terms of updating it. So we're going to shift to the app. We will provide everybody, as we do with all the meeting folders, the Tuesday morning. We will give those to the leads to an individual within the group. So one thing Dora mentioned earlier, that a staff member, so staff members will go generally with groups that with one person or somebody who hasn't been part of the TIA policy forum before. There are several folks who have been a number of years, like Brandon Arnold from Texas. I believe this is he's been every single one I've been at pretty much. So 13 to 14 policy forum with TIA. He knows his way around the hill. We're not going to send a staff member with Team Texas. They have a number of individuals that know where they're going and have done it from years past. But there are a number of states out there where there's one person, for instance, who has not been participating in the forum, who may not know their way around Capitol Hill. So that's where we'll send the staff person. But so if you're from a particular state, you're the only person coming, don't feel bad. We're going to send somebody with you just to make sure you're taken care of. Years past, as we've set up the congressional meetings, particularly this is really talking about Texas and Illinois right now. There's such a huge delegation of TI members coming, which is great. So we'll have meetings at the same time. We also have large congressional delegations, sometimes 30 plus members of Congress in the delegation. We set up meetings at the same time, and then we've broken it out. And I think in years past, we've missed if there's been certain connections with people who may have a relationship with a certain member of Congress, who may want to go see a certain office. So we're going to let the state delegations, we're going to let you all break that out this year and figure out who you want to go meet with, who's going to be kind of your group A, who's going to be your group B. Because, like I said, we never know where those relationships may lie. I was talking with a member the other day from Ohio, who somebody, his family's married to J.D. Vance. So that's not something that we were aware of. But certainly a good relationship to have if you're coming in meeting with Ohio members. So we'll let you all take care of that. We're going to get the schedule sent out much earlier this time. Like I said, the app is live. I'm going to start adding in who your individual personal schedules here this afternoon. But we will put together those team schedules. We will send those out to the groups. So if you want to print it and bring it with you, that's fine. Just be aware that it may change literally the morning of, as they typically do, as there is a lot of moving pieces, as Dora talked about earlier. I will never forget, it must have been 5 or 6 years ago at this point. But the congressional baseball team, the Republicans were having their practice, and there was that shooting the morning of where Majority Leader Steve Scalise from Louisiana was shot. That was actually the morning of our Hill Day on Capitol Hill. So we were over on the Senate side having a briefing with former Congressman Jimmy Duncan from Tennessee. That happened. We still had all our meetings on the Hill. I don't think we had any meetings with members at that point because of that, because all the members went to the floor kind of in unison in support of Leader Scalise and the rest of the folks that were at the practice. But point being, it was crazy. That stuff happens. It's Washington, D.C. You never know what's going to happen. We don't anticipate anything like that happening this year, obviously. But you know, and it was intimidating into the fact that, you know, normally there's your security guards at the front, but then it was like security guards times 5 with AR-15s and assault rifles. And it was like it was nuts. So if we made it through that one, we're going to make it through anything. We have a next slide here, Travis. Cool. So just questions. Yeah. So I see a number of questions just popped in. Go through these real quick. Brandon, to your question, can we find who's coming from the state ahead of time? Yes. So when I send out that schedule, you'll see who's on the email with you within your group. We also, you know, recommend, we're happy to set these up for you. Going in or maybe having a Zoom call ahead of time with your particular state group. You know, if you want to have a conversation about, you know, hey, these are kind of my talking points, these are your talking points. Like I said, we're happy to facilitate that. Nikki, you're currently the only one from Arkansas coming. So Travis, being at least 50% of his life in Arkansas or Kentucky, it depends on who you ask. Travis will be going with you. So you'll be in good hands there. The event is not being found in the Cvent app. I just looked it up. I know I found it. I think it was, yeah, type in TA 2024 Policy Forum. That's what I found it under. And it should be, I was told by our illustrious Meetings and Education Chair, or Vice President Cindy, it was live. And like I said, I just downloaded, I'm in. So if you run any issues with that, don't hesitate, email us. We'll help you walk through the process of the app. All right, we'll give it a few seconds here. If there's any other.
Yeah, and I think we have one last slide, Travis, just if they have questions, it has the email on there. Want to just.
Yep. Like I said, you know, if you want to schedule a particular Zoom call ahead of time, we would certainly recommend that. And you know, like I said, we're happy to facilitate that. If you're just curious on who's coming from your different state delegation, you can reach out. We'll send the schedules as soon as possible. I know we have well over 100 meetings already confirmed, quite a few more we're working on. Okay, Tim, I'll get with you. If you're not finding the event, I'll get with you. We'll figure it out. All right. All right, not seeing any other questions. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. We will do the morning of. We've put like 30 minutes aside on the schedule, kind of a break between a couple of the speakers. We're going to do like a much more condensed version of this, more on the issues. But if there's any questions the morning of, let us know as well. We'll be happy to answer those for you. All right, perfect. Well, with that, we again appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing you here in a few weeks in Washington, D.C. And let us know if you have any questions. Thanks, everybody.